Shall we start? It's 11.
Let's get started, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we are here at the first Kaiju Brooklyn panel. We're here with John Bellotti Jr. and Ej. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to pronounce your name.
This fan base can pronounce Anguirus, but they can't do Couloucoundis.
There's
Like,
like
it's not that difficult.
It's like 50 syllables in your last name.
Couloucoundis.
It's like 4!
So, you know, John's Robo 7. He does this beautiful art behind us. All of it's officially
And this
licensed.
wonderful shirt.
Wonderful shirts.
This shirt is for sale in the booth over there afterwards, so if you're a
Officially
fan of Zeton,
licensed.
yeah.
So,
2 colors.
yeah. Ej is the
nobody
editor-in-chief.
who-
of,
No, he's the brains behind
Yeah.
Ultraman
I am the
Connection.
editor-in-chief of Ultraman Connection. Yes, thank you.
So knowledge, just, do you guys know the character of Oracle from the Batman series? He's the Oracle of Ultraman.
And just like Oracle, I too never get out of my chair.
He'll be here all night. So if you have any
Well,
Ultraman
I don't have a
questions-
choice.
All right, well, I guess we'll start off with Ej.
Yeah.
Ej, you want to talk about some of the work that you guys do on Ultraman Connection for people that might not know, like, what's Ultraman
Yeah,
Connection?
what don't we do on Ultraman
Yeah, right.
Connection? So we've been around for about 4 years now. 4 years. We used to be Ultraman Galaxy, but we won't answer that if you call it. We changed our name. And we are, the best way to put it is we are the connection to Subaraya Productions' Ultraman series to the global fan base. When we first started, we've done these amazing Ultraman Connection live shows. We brought Sevinger Fight to the States. I don't know if any of you guys saw Sevinger Fight. We brought the Ultraman Taiga movie that was a little bit delayed and lost during COVID to everyone. Can't comment on the series itself, but we're working on it. But yeah, we do articles. We have a Twitter now where we interact with fans. We like to answer questions and kind of just explain all the million ways that Ultraman is fun and great and engaging and something that you should be checking out. And that's Ultraman Connection in a nutshell.
Fantastic. As some of you are trickling in, John, can you talk a little bit about what you do?
Well, I'm an artist. This is my artwork. Some of you are wearing my shirts. Actually, none of you are. Just DJ is. I'm not even wearing my own shirt.
She is wearing your shirt.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Sorry. You guys wearing my shirts. I got the license to make Ultraman t-shirts.
And we're very happy he has it.
And these guys couldn't be any more amazing to work with. The Subaraya brand is hungry to grow here, and I love that because I'm hungry to grow as well as an artist and to grow our show. So it's a very mutual relationship we have. And it's great because as Ultraman is breaking ground here, I'm breaking ground with Kaiju Brooklyn. You know, I basically created Kaiju Brooklyn because I got the license to sell the Ultraman shirts. But by the time they approved everything, thanks Subaraya, it was too late for convention season in New York. And I said, what am I going to do? So I started doing the Japanese street festivals here. I was doing little shows, and I said, I got to make a show to sell my Ultraman shirts. I want to sell these things.
The only reason this happened.
These are cheap. I got a license to pay, right? So I approached, I don't know why I'm going into this, but I guess it all fits into the whole theme. I approached Anthony Marino of BK1 Productions. I said I got this idea for a Kaiju convention. I know the fan base is here. And we launched Kaiju Brooklyn last year. So thank you for whoever showed up last year. Thank you, guys. Thank you. That makes me happy that there was less people clapping for last year's show, and there's more people for this year's show, so thank you.
New folks.
Yeah. Yeah, and we invited Ultraman Connection, and they came, and you know, the word got back to Subaraya. They're very, happy and excited to see what we're doing over here. And that's, I've been a convention artist for almost 10 years now, and you get to a certain point with doing that, it's like, well, what's the next step? And for me, it was getting a license to do Ultraman. The Godzilla license is a little elusive for me. I'm a little bit of too independent for Toho, let's just say. I'm not Nike or Uniqlo, so I'm like, okay, guys, well, hey, you know what? No one's touching Ultraman, and now I'm like cornering the market with.
People are touching it now.
Yeah, now
Are we chopped liver?
No, not at all. I said Ultraman is just as awesome to me, and when Seismic Toys was the first one that I knew of to get the license here, and I said, how much is the license? And he told me, and I said, because I thought it was like what Godzilla's asking price was. So when I spoke to Danny, who runs Subaraya Fields, I said, oh, that's all it is? Yo, I'll take the license. And that's basically how I got the license. I was like, oh, in my head, I thought it was like what Toho charges, but no, they was like much more reasonable. So That's my long-winded story.
It is a fact. We want to be here. We want to bring Ultraman to everyone. Y'all know Ultraman is like a cultural icon in Asia. And for a while, and we're not going to say why, and it starts with a C, and we're never going to say any more about that. It was difficult to bring it to the rest of the world. We had brief moments, the Sinar dub from like the 70s to the 90s, on and off. That Tiga dub. And in the modern era, everyone at Tsuburaya has put their best foot forward into showing that Ultraman isn't just for Japan.
Yeah.
It is a Japanese series. It is still quintessentially Japanese, but it is a series for the entire world to enjoy. And I think one of the best examples of that is Ultraman Rising, which is coming up in 2 weeks.
Can you guys talk about that at all?
We can. It's June 1st.
Can we talk about it?
We can break the embargo.
Finally.
Woo! We got to watch a screening of it on May 19th
With
Shannon
Shannon
Tyndall and John
Tyndall.
Aoshima and a bunch of members of the crew, and we got to find out like so much about that process and what was going into it. And it's difficult to find the right words for it, which is bad because I am a writer by trade. But it's a movie that I would call more than anything sincere. It is a movie that is about not just the titanic monster fighting exploits of Ultraman, but what Ultraman's always really been about, which is helping those that are smaller than him, both literally and figuratively, become bigger in size, bigger in heart, bigger in spirit. It's an intimate movie. I've mentioned this to other people, but like there are like 12 speaking roles in the movie. It is a movie that knows exactly what story it wants to tell, and that story is sweet and cute and eye-catching, and oh my God, it's
Beautiful,
so
so
colorful.
beautiful.
I'm excited to see
think
it.
of like Guardians of the Galaxy with the colors, and it's beautiful.
Think of Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Like that is the movie I would compare this to more than
And Incredibles. I got like Incredibles vibe
Yeah.
a little bit too.
But you
Well,
look
with
at,
that
the
level of
stylization.
the level of maturity is more like The Incredibles. There's some, without going into too much, there's something in it for everybody to identify with, especially with the lead character. Believe me, like running a show and then having a day job and seeing that, like the character in the movie trying to do that, I'm like, I get it. I get what he's trying to do. And oh my God, I know that exhaustion.
And raising a kid.
And raising a kid, yeah. I mean, I have a cat. She doesn't count. But
Kind of counts.
no, I will say we were all kind of skeptical going into it, right? Because we know what Hollywood has done to our Godzilla, and even with the Legendary. If you love it or hate it, you know, and that's a whole other panel. But here, talking about Ultraman. Going into it, I was a little trepidation. But by the end, me, him, and Chris with Seismic Toys, we had
tears in my eyes.
yeah, we had the feels. We definitely had the feels by the end. So definitely, and Shannon Tyndall recommended, because it's Netflix, keep the movie on,
And just
go to
play it
sleep,
in the
just play
background.
it over and over. Get it in the algorithm, because he said Netflix needs to see how popular this is going to be. And the budget this movie has, the love that went into it, would just please everybody watch the movie. We're all going to rise with Ultraman.
Rising.
But there's that coming out, and then 3 weeks later, we have Ultraman Arc. And Arcs, I'm going to be very careful how I word this because I definitely didn't run this past my bosses before I brought this up. But Arc is it's the perfect bridge point from Rising. It is, I don't know how many of you guys saw Ultraman Blazar. Blazar's a great show. Blazar's a very self-serious show in a good way. It takes itself seriously. It is, I would not show the first episode to a kid, necessarily. The Battle of Bazanga is rough. It is a real combat scenario, complete with buildings coming down and smoke plumes in the air. Arc is a show more for all ages. And that is, I think, a really good thing, because Ultraman can be so many different things. And in this case, it is a show about a child's imagination growing with him. Without spoiling too much, we have our main character, Yumehise, who, when he was 7 years old in the mountains of Hoshimoto City, made a miraculous encounter. And in the modern era, as kaiju are not quite rampaging, but kaiju are a thing. It is something that has to be reckoned with in the real world. Their real world, at least. We don't have kaiju here. Yeah. But he becomes a new kind of Ultraman. And you've seen probably from the little bits of trailer material, this being Ruchian that he bonds with. Neither of them are Ultraman to start with. Ultraman Arc is the hero that a child envisioned when he thought of what a hero should be. And in the modern era, Yumehise becomes the hero he wanted to see as a child. And I think that that is a perfect distillation of like every kaiju fan's dream. Like, and I'm gonna toot my own horn here a little bit. The way I fell into this job, because I do not look like someone who should be working for Tsuburaya Productions.
Nor do I look like someone who should be drawing Tsuburaya characters.
But I grew up with Ultraman. When I was 4 years old, a family friend gave me a VHS of Ultraman Tiga, episodes 4, 5, 6, and 7. And my first exposure to any Ultraman media was the episode with Silazar, which is the zombie beached whale kaiju. And despite that, I fell in love with the show. I wore that VHS tape out, and I didn't ever expect to do anything with Ultraman, but I've loved it since I was a kid. And then 5 years ago, I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In a game shop in Midtown with a friend of mine who was at the time working for a man named Jeff Gomez. And in the middle of our game, very serious game, Jeff Gomez calls up my friend and he says, "Hey, I need you to tell me who Ultraman Zero is." And I'm lost in the sauce. I'm playing cards like a champ. I go, "Oh, Zero, that's Ultra 7's son." Like, because you talk with your fans, like, "Oh yeah, I know that character." And he goes, "Who's that on the phone? Who is that?" So, "Hi, I'm EJ." He says, "EJ, do you want a job?" And that's how this started. I got brought on to help build the story Bible for kind of the modern global tellings of Ultraman. And that sort of snowballed into where I am now, where spoilers, personal spoilers, this doesn't leave the room, don't turn off the cameras. I just finished writing all of the flavor text for the first set of the Ultraman trading card game that is coming out later this year. I got to, back in 2019, look at the initial script for Ultraman Made in Japan, which would become Ultraman Rising. I got to go to Subucon last year and cover the events there. And like all of that came from this child who just loved this character and like imagined what would it be like to be making that show and working on that show. And maybe I'm not actually writing. That's Tsujimoto-san, who's doing Arc this year, and Shannon Tyndall, and John Aoshima, who did Rising. But I get to work with these people, and I get to, in my own way, make Ultraman happen. And I think everyone here, the point of Ultraman Connection is, as a fan base, with the things that you say and the stories of your own lives and your own Ultraman experiences that you share, unlike that,
That's the stage.
there's
Sorry, guys.
usually no hammering away online. It's great. But you guys get to kind of forge what Ultraman is in the States and abroad with what you want it to be, with what you are watching and talking about, because Tsuburaya does talk to us about these things. We share what we see. We had a post the other day. I was talking to this person over here that we had a kind of a fun post talking about, like, yeah, nobody's beyond redemption. Everyone's got a chance, but also Ultraman Traeger sucks, guys. That guy's the worst. And it was like just talking about that. Tsuburaya's like, so people have a really strong opinion of Traeger, huh? I'm like, yeah. And that might affect something down the line, but yeah, that Ultraman is not just something that is made on a soundstage in Japan. It's something that is made with every one of you every time you open your mouth about this amazing, almost 60-year-old series. We're neck and neck with Doctor Who at this point. It's crazy. But
Yeah, we're gonna clap for that. I think we should dive into the nuts and bolts a little bit with the licensing.
Sure.
I want to start with John, because you are on the licensee end of things, right? What are some of the challenges with handling, as he said, that's a broad statement, I'm aware. Just handling this legacy property, we'll call it, There's different expectations and whatnot.
Yeah, so I did that. That is my first, EJ, actually, do you want to grab it and just hold it up? for
Yeah.
me? I know it's like a weird.
don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop
Yeah,
it.
don't drop it. That's the first ever
This is
Ultraman
how it
piece
should
I
be,
did.
completely covered by it.
Yeah, so I did that years ago, right, before I got the license. And I had to redraw Ultraman, and I pitched to them, and I said, this is what the design I want to do. They sent me back 13 pages of revisions. I freaked out. I'm like, what do I do? So I was so stressed out because I wanted to get the shirts made for Anime NYC. This is October. So I got the revisions done. By the time I got approvals, it was February. It was insane. They were like nitpicking everything. So by the time I did Ultra 7, I only got 7 pages of revisions. When I did Tiga Dynagaya, which is right behind Nick right there, I think it was only 1 page of revisions, but with a few little things to do. So each time, like, they said stuff to me like, oh, the triangle he's in, it looks a little jagged. And I said, guys, that's just a JPEG. It's going to be a higher quality. Like, it was stuff like microscope on top of microscope. Like, it's like, guys, that's just, I'll fix that. Like, just, what is everything, like, they wanted me to make sure all the color timers were the same color. I had to change Tiga's blue to more purple. Dyna's had to be, it was crazy. By the time I got to Mega Monster Battle was okay. There was a few little changes, and like that had Zoffy in like a green hue, and there was a battle over the way I placed like the logo and stuff, because the Ultraman word has to be there. I'm like, geez, it was something like that. But by the time I did Ultraman Z, by the time I did Baltan, by the time I did Zeton was like the fastest approval I got. It was like 24 hours.
And
they
it looks great.
Yeah, they just said, make it like the eyes. You could see the eyes. I went, oh, okay.
So as a general fact, and I'll jump in here, how many times has this happened to you where something you like, some executive gets hold of it and makes Dragon Ball Evolution? To pull away from jokes for a second, Tsuburaya genuinely cares about Ultraman.
Yes.
Ultraman is not just a product to them. Ultraman is...
It's life. It's
yeah,
life.
It's what saved them. It's what made them. It is something that they genuinely hold sacrosanct. And nothing gets made with Ultraman that doesn't have genuine love in it.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't show up in Ready Player One.
I was going to finish. He pretty much said what I was going to say was, even after doing like a combined 50-something pages of revisions of all this stuff, and the back and forth and the overnight responses, they care so much about this character. They're not slapping Ultraman on water bottles and, hey, chocolate bars. I'm not talking about any other famous kaiju IP out there. They care,
You should see the amount of notes that went in for the Marvel Ultraman comics that have gone through.
Oh, I remember I was talking to Arthur Adams. We all know who Arthur Adams is, right?
Yeah.
And I did a trade. I said, hey, he liked my Ultraman shirt. I'm like, I'll give you a shirt. He gave me a sketchbook. He's like, deal. So we started like talking shop, and I was telling him about my tribulations, and he goes, Oh yeah, he goes, I was just like light boxing Ultraman's head at that point. He's like, it was just ridiculous. I couldn't like, he's like, it's just, they were getting so nitpicky with everything. They really care about the head. They really care about the head. You can fudge some of the body, but they really care about the head. Because think about it, the head is so iconic. It's Superman's S, and to get that right, that's everything to them. So I do love that they love the character. And like I said, ultimately, it's their baby. They're going to do what 100%. They want. But again, they're not slapping it on bottles of ketchup,
Yeah.
for money.
I'm
sorry. I love the fact that they gave me the license because I'm just like a fan artist, right? I just did it for love. And I'm not Uniqlo, I'm not Hot Topic, I'm not like a major corporation. They trusted me with the license. And if I gave them like $3 of royalties or $500, they still respect me and I respect them. And they love working with licensees that have a passion for this stuff. And thank you for all your support with all this stuff. And thank you because I don't want to spoil it.
But yeah, the way we do things, and Ultraman Connection, or rather Starlight Runner, which is the group that runs Ultraman Connection, is like intimately involved with a lot of different processes of bringing Ultraman here. And we might be more anal retentive about the show than Subaraya is, because every one of us really, really, really loves this series, and we love making it. And we want to see new Ultraman content. We want to see new Ultraman series and shows and shirts, and maybe we do want him on a lunchbox. We want him where everyone can see him, but it's not worth doing if it's not the real deal, right? If it's not genuine, if it's not something that we wouldn't be proud to wear ourselves, which is one of the reasons I always wear John's shirts every time I go to any of these conventions.
You wore it at SubaCon. I couldn't thank you enough.
We had a great time at SubaCon. I was wearing that Tiga Dynagaya shirt I had 2 different shirts, and I was wearing them 2 different days. They look identical, but I swear it was 2 shirts. And I had people on the show floor asking me in broken English which booth I was getting them at. And I had to kind of turn to the person I was working with over there and had to say, it's not here, it's something that's only being sold in America right now. Which was fun. That was a fun experience.
So what you're telling me is if I do SuperCon 2025, I could retire after
100%.
Yeah, okay.
You will
Thank
sell out in that.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, thanks. Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
Did you want to highlight some of the other licensees that are notable?
I mean, there's one big one, obviously. We mentioned a little bit before, but Marvel Comics. We have gotten to make, much like a certain Big Lizard did back in the 70s, but we put a little more oomph into it, a full Ultraman series with Marvel that every step of the way we've worked with Kyle Higgins, Matt Groom, and a series of artists that are just all fantastic, like Francesco Mana, Ej Su, on making an American Ultraman story. It is not the tokusatsu, but it exists in this amazing space where it knows everything that was done and is kind of recontextualizing so many of these best parts to tell something new. And I'll give you a great example. In The Mystery of Ultra 7, which is the most recent finished run, there is Jack. And Jack is, technically in this one, not an Ultraman. Jack is a giant robot that combines from 4 different machines and looks very similar to Ultraman when he's standing. And that was a double reference. We worked with Kyle and Matt on that because there's an alternate configuration that turns into a giant flying submarine, which if anyone here has seen the show Mighty Jack, might recognize that as a double reference. But Jack is the way we wanted to. We love Ultraman Jack. Everyone loves Ultraman Jack. Return of Ultraman is a classic. Imagine a show so good that it ruins Hideaki Anno's brain for 40 plus years. And everything he does is a reference to it after the fact. But how do you make two almost identical looking Ultras show up in a page medium and not get mistaken for one another? So Marvel worked with us and worked with Tsuburaya on figuring out a new way to have that classic character, but also a new spin on it so that there wasn't that worry of being mistaken. So it's something that people can adhere to and know that they're being represented, but it's also something new. It's something different. And that went through rigorous amounts of like QC checking from Tsuburaya. They wanted to make sure that, hey, if you're doing this differently, it has to be so careful and so genuine. You cannot turn it into a joke. You cannot turn it into like a take that. Like it has to be pure love letter. And luckily, the amazing team at Marvel also loves Ultraman. So it was a pure love letter. And there's something coming up that's going to be just as big a love letter.
I was just going to bounce off of that and ask about that. So, I'm sure you guys heard last night they were talking about Ultraman joining the Avengers, you know, Marvel's classic team. And I was going to piggyback right off of you and inquire about like that same process, but now he's crossing over with an established IP, a legacy, another legacy IP.
So something to keep in mind is that Avengers, Ultraman X Avengers, is canon to the Ultraman story. It is the fourth run of the book. It is not Ultraman crossing over into the main Marvel universe. You don't have to worry about Ultraman really having to compare too much with Earth's mightiest heroes, all that stuff. It is, at its core, still very much an Ultraman story. But it is an Ultraman story that kind of asks questions. You have access to this whole multiverse of characters, and it's not how would Ultraman stack up to these people, but like how would they interact? When these characters, the Avengers especially, Marvel as a whole is so famous for all of this time focusing on the human side of their characters. Peter Parker is the unluckiest man on Earth and also happens to be a superhero. And he goes through all these trials and tribulations of his personal life as much as his superhero life. And that's the tack that we went in, that the team went in on this story. It is not a situation where people are fighting necessarily, but it is a problem cosmic in scale that requires all these superheroes. Ultraman's contribution is not just being the biggest guy in the room, it is how do you solve these problems in the Ultraman way, and can the Avengers learn something from that? Can Shin Hayata, this younger Shin Hayata, who I don't know if people have read Mystery of Ultra 7 in the previous Ultraman books, but is going through some stuff on his own. There's been some rough developments in the state of the world in that book. Finding a way to be a hero, not a superhero, but a hero, someone that doesn't stand above people, but stands with people in a way that the Avengers historically have been very good at. So it's lots of learning from one another, and also just real talk, some of the coolest fight scenes in the entire book so far. It's been not spoiled, but mentioned a couple times. We also got Ultraman Taro finally. Yeah! Taro's showing up. They give Taro all the love in the world. No, not gonna tell you where he shows up, but when I got to that part, I had to put down the script because I was doing like this face.
EJ, this might be a dumb question.
Yes.
Is there a reason why all these characters showing up in these Marvel comics are the Showa Ultraman and not like some of the more modern guys like Zero or Dyna or Tiga?
I think that's a good question, and there's a lot of conversations to be had that you could absolutely have these new gen characters, but at the same time, How many of you know who Ultraman Max is?
Favorite series.
A lot of people here. But that's also this group, and it's frankly less than half. This is supposed to be a way, in a lot of the same way Rising is, to get people who have never seen Ultraman a place to jump in on. And as much as I love Zero and Tiga and Max and Ultraman X and all of these characters, the classic series has the benefit of that ongoing continuity for a decade and a half or so, where you can just say, yeah, it's totally reasonable to say you can absolutely justify Ultraman, Ultra 7, and Ultraman Taro being in the room compared to Ultraman Tiga, Ultraman Gaia, Ultraman Blazar. Like, what is, even if you are taking out their traditional storytelling, the core essence of these characters has to remain. And the core essence of the classic era Ultraman is that they are the Ultra Brothers, and they can always be counted on to find one another.
Well
And
said.
that's why.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. John,
Hi.
I'll pick on you a little bit.
Sure.
Looking in from the outside,
Okay.
how is everything?
In the state of the world, or just
How is the looking in from the outside, the Ultraman push for the comics and everything?
it's
From the
amazing.
outside perspective, how is that?
My first interaction with Ultraman was Towards the Future. I was watching that every day as a kid and saying, who is this man fighting monsters? And I remember becoming enamored with this character called Ultra 7. I heard about Ultra 7, and I kept reading about him in kaiju fanzines. I can't remember the name of these fanzines, but I heard it was the dark Ultra, the Ultra show, and it was serious. And he looked cool. He has the blade, and he's got the Mayan-inspired suit. And I said, this is so cool. So I remember buying my first bootleg VHS in Chinatown in '97, and that's how I first started watching Ultra 7. I watched The Lost Memory. I had Ultraman Z Earth. I bought all of those. And then it went away. And then it came back. I found maybe some unlicensed fan subs on YouTube. I know. It was 2006. You probably weren't even born yet, man, all right? I remember watching Ultraman Max and Mebius and being blown away. I said, oh, they're still making Ultra shows. And then I remember getting the OG Ultraman box set at San Diego Comic-Con in '08, and I watched that in Ultra 7. But it was still kind of quiet. So seeing it go from that to when I remember getting the text message from my friend saying that they finally settled the lawsuit with and
I do not perceive it.
exactly. But for me, you got to understand, when that happened, I heard they're going to start making a push here in the States. And I listened to a podcast with that man, Jeff Gomez. And in Jeff's podcast, at the end of Jeff's podcast, he said, I'm a fan and I love hearing from fans. So what did I do? I Facebook friended him and I messaged him right away. And we talked, and Jeff was very gracious with his time. He helped me as much as he could. And, here we are. So to go from messaging that guy back there who I never knew, this man is responsible for probably half of my childhood, and the fact that he's also local, I was like, oh my God. I remember I sent you posters. I'm like, here, take all this is what I do. And, going from that to seeing okay, got the license, and also, I remember I'm a fan artist, so I sell at conventions. So I would have my Godzilla stuff up, and people would point to Jet Jaguar and go, oh, I love Ultraman. And I'm like, oh my God. No, it's not Ultraman. And then it turned into, I would have Ultraman, and people would say, do you have any Ultraman? I was like, oh, I do right here. And then when I started doing the shirts, I noticed every year it got bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where, now we have a major Netflix movie coming out.
And you have the first, I think, non-Bandai licensed product
I do,
from
yeah.
Rising.
I can say the first officially licensed Ultraman Rising shirts are at my booth right now.
Go get them.
Yeah. So I just got them in Wednesday. There we go. Let's.
Yeah, have them
Show
hold
the
it up.
class.
Hold it up. Show the class.
This is it.
I didn't like 10 minutes.
As per Netflix, I had to put their damn logo in the shirt. Thanks for costing me extra money, Netflix. But yeah, this is the new shirt. Thank you for buying it. Shannon Tyndall loves it. I'm going to send him a few. But yeah, it was so much fun to draw. And after watching the movie, I just wanted to keep drawing for this. So hopefully I could figure something out to keep going. But yeah, as an outsider, like I said, I was all in the Godzilla game as we were. And it's like, man, Ultraman's never going to get a break here. And to watch this, oh my God. That's why if I, again, turn on Rising and leave it on. Just leave it on.
Exactly. I guess I got one more question for you guys. We kind of covered everything, and I think it'll wrap it up in a bow. There's a couple people I know in this room, like Nick. I'm going to pick on you a little bit. Okay. Nick came to me last week before Brooklyn and said, I have never seen Ultraman before. Where do I go?
Get out. Yeah, but there's a lot of kaiju fans like that. No offense.
So my answer was, let's go relevant. Watch Blazar. But I want to ask you two guys. There's a whole almost 60-year history of the show. Like,
I know where you're going.
Like, where do we go?
Yeah. Where do you start? Or
yeah, where do you start?
I mean, honestly, the original 7. You could start with those two. Mm-hmm. The new generation stuff gets a little too Marvel-y in terms of continuities. It could get a little tricky with that. Can't go wrong with Tiga, Dinah, or Gaia. Nexus, Max.
Yeah.
Mebius.
I'm going to answer the question now.
Did I say Gaia?
The place I always recommend that people start, and this is maybe a hot take, but it is the one that has led to the most actual success, let's call it conversions, is Ultraman Mebius. Ultraman Mebius is the 40th anniversary series for Ultraman. It aired in 2006, and it was also the closing chapter of the entire classic timeline. It is a 53 episode show that manages to bridge 15 years of stories from the original, from Ultra Q to Ultraman 80. And what it does that's amazing, and I'm going to maybe mention a certain pirate-themed show from another series, is it gives you enough of all of these characters and their essential qualities for you to go to Ultraman and say, I know exactly what makes this character great already. I know exactly what I want to see. Go to Ultraman 80 at the end, which I love, and some people have mixed opinions on, and go, oh, here's why the things that this character does matters. Go to Leo and cry a lot more than you were already going to.
Yeah.
Mebius does all that while keeping its own essential story, and a really well-told story. It's also the show that they absolutely broke the bank on. It is, for my money, in terms of scale and quality, the best work Tsuburaya ever did with their effects, with new monsters, constant new monsters, and new suits for monsters that existed in the past. And just every episode of Mebius is a treat and a time capsule to something that has existed in the past. And that's so cool. Imagine for your second or third episode where Mebius has to go against Birdon, the chicken that killed 2 Ultras. And they go and they sit back and they go, you know this thing killed 2 Ultras already, right? And then they explain why this ridiculous chicken with poison wattles is terrifying. Yeah. And it almost kills Mebius too. So it extends and broadens your understanding of classic Ultraman before you've even seen it. And then when you actually go to it, and I do highly recommend you go back and watch all the classic Ultraman, you get this further sense of understanding. That's why I call it the best starting place, because it primes you for an entire 40 years prior, and then afterwards you get the Zero movies, and we all love the Zero movies. Who was here last night for the Zero movie? That was great, right?
Yeah.
That was my starting point.
Yeah, it's a great start. That's also a great starting point. Zero bridges 3 generations because you've got the original classics that he is coming out of. He's Ultra 7's son. You've got the end of Generation 2 with Mebius and Dinah. And he's, in a lot of ways, the first new Gen Ultra as well.
Yeah.
So, like, he covers all the bases. But Mebius or Tiga? I don't even need to explain Tiga to you guys. Y'all know. Y'all know Tiga.
All right. Well,
How we doing on time?
we got 20 minutes. We're good.
Take questions?
Yeah,
Before we
take
take
questions.
questions,
Yeah.
I would like to do one small thing, which involves
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that.
this. This is Superior 8 Ultra Brothers. Thought by many to be one of, if not the greatest Ultraman movie ever. This was also made around the same time as Mebius was airing. And connects everyone. They brought back the original 4 Ultra Brothers. They went from the original actors for Shin Hayata, Seiji Hokuto, Dan Muraboshi, Go Hideki. Brought back Daigo Madoka, Ultraman Tiga, who hasn't shown up in a decade plus, Shin Asuka and Gamu Takayama, and Adaman, and everyone is here. This is the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Avengers Endgame of Ultraman. And we are going to be giving this away right now. And we're going to tie it to a trivia question. So whoever can raise their hands first and give the correct answer.
Don't let Kevin raise his hand.
Kevin, you're banned. You've already got this. You already have this.
I made direct. I was like, I know where this is going.
The question is, in Ultraman Rising,
I haven't seen it yet.
and that's why I left a hint at the booth back there if you visited earlier.
Oh,
What is the name of the baby kaiju that Ken Sato was racing? Emmy, yes. So you have-
quick.
I will ask another question and give away another copy of Superior 8 at our 6 p.m. panel later.
Yes.
There will also be a hint to that in the Ultraman Connection booth. So stop by, get some free collector cards, and just keep it on your mind.
Keep it on your mind. We got about 15 minutes, guys. We'll open the floor to some questions, and they'll answer them to the best of their ability. We'll start with you.
Hi, so I got a question. How much middlemaning is it with Super Eye and other brands you want to collab with?
There is a group now, Subaraya Fields Media, that handles a lot of the licensing, basically all of the licensing that is done here in the States and in most of the world. That there are zones that Subaraya themselves obviously directly controls, but they are a subsidiary of Subaraya. Everything that they do goes through Subaraya as well. But because they exist here in the States, a lot gets done more quickly. It's very nice. It's a lot easier than it was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of you guys. We'll do you, and then we'll do Joseph.
Yeah, maybe go like row by row.
Mill Creek is obviously a partner for your physical media.
Yes.
I started off with the Showa era because I kind of love all things Showa when it comes to my kaiju. And I'm slowly starting to branch out into the more recent Ultraman stuff, specifically the anime on Netflix, which I loved, and I can't wait for Ultraman Rising. I noticed with the Showa era releases, they're beautifully remastered. And the subtitles are great, but specifically with Season 2, so actually Ultraman Season 1, there aren't any dubbed versions of the episodes necessarily on those Blu-ray releases. Is that something that's a complication overseas in the rights to maybe versions of those episodes with a dub track to it?
Which dub are you talking? The anime Ultraman?
No. The original Ultraman
Oh, do you
series.
mean Ultra 7?
The 66.
Yeah, but Season 2, it was the 139 episode.
Right, I'm going by the DVD, so Ultra Q, Ultraman, then Ultra 7.
Oh,
then
so we're
Ultraman.
just talking about Ultraman 66.
So with the Ultraman set,
Yes.
there are not English dubs. I don't mind that, but I do kind of love to have it to show my friends. Is it an issue with copyright rights in Japan where they can't include those things? Did some of those things just end up falling away?
The answer is we're working on it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you so much.
literally took the words out of my mouth.
Thanks,
I
Jeff.
appreciate it.
Why don't you get up here,
Why
Jeff?
is he
Come
back
on.
there?
No, he's gonna get his own panel.
Anyway, you had a question.
Joseph, go ahead, buddy.
About the Marvel comics, in Superia, do they have to tell you, like, why aren't you doing this difference?
Yes.
Yeah.
But were they confident with it? Did you need to give them a little bit of persuasion?
Well, so a little bit of spoilers about what I do, that we work pretty tightly with Marvel and with Subaraya. Like, I have gotten personally to enjoy those scripts well before they have hit stands. And if there is a problem, we bring it up, and also the people at Subaraya are reading this. Everyone involved is paying very close attention to every part of it. So if there is a problem, they will call it out. But there is also genuine trust. There is a desire to let Marvel tell its own story. Marvel is one of the biggest comic makers ever, not just in America, but globally. And there is respect for what they can do. And there's a lot of respect for Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom, who are the storytelling team. If anyone knows how to put tokusatsu to page, it's those two. They did the Boom Power Rangers comics before working on the Marvel Ultraman. And they know their stuff, and they came to Subaraya with a very clear vision of what they wanted to be doing. And as things developed, like Jack did not happen right away. Jack was a development because we want to bring in this character. It's not strictly part of the exact plan we put together, but it would serve the story, and here's why. And it's hard to argue with someone who knows exactly what they want to do and aren't doing it in a way that's going to risk damaging the series as a whole.
No, you had one in the back. Thanks for your patience.
Okay. In regards to, you brought up the Tiga dub earlier, and you know, I understand the reasons why that's been lost to time. But how does Subaraya, or how does the team feel about bringing series that are maybe held in lesser regard, but still have fans like Ultraman Power to...
I assure you, Subaraya doesn't hold any of their series in lesser regard. It is not an issue of if we should do this, it's an issue of when. The goal that Subaraya had at the beginning of the partnership with Mill Creek that has not changed is eventually you can, in your home, own every season of Ultraman. I can't say too much about what's coming regarding that, but I don't have to because the internet spoiled it. And I'll say no more of it. You have been waiting patiently.
Alright, so I've noticed, and this might just be between me and my friend group and everything, that Ultraman Blazar felt like it got a lot more attention from just people as a whole here in the States than previous shows. Do you think that's because it felt like it was almost more geared a little more American? I mean, his sidekick was literally Blue Dragonzord. And do you think that could continue with new Ultra shows trying to be pushed more in the American market?
I think that Blazar in a lot of ways was not just for the American audience. I'm not going to say that the global audience wasn't considered, but also Blazar was the absolute passion project of Kiyotaka Taguchi, who is the man who has directed all of your favorite new gens. I'm just going to say it. He did Zet, he did Blazar, he did X, he did Orb. Blazar was something he wanted to do. He came with this concept of an Ultraman that cannot communicate with humanity, and everything built out from there. And I can't get too much into the development history, obviously, because that's not my story to tell. But there was less, we're building this for a specific audience than you may think. It is more, we are aware that Americans are going to be watching this more easily, that parts of the world are going to be watching this more easily. Where a lot of it came into, for example, was the dub. I don't know if you guys watched the American dub, the English dub rather, that was done by Okratron Productions, that starred Johnny Young Bosch as Gento Hiruma. That was intentional. That was 100% chosen because, yeah, we're gonna get the Americans to watch this. Let's get someone who they know. But yeah, I think Blazar hit well in America because it was, in a lot of ways, a very self-serious show in a time. And Americans, you like self-serious stuff. You can't deny it. You like you see Gento jumping out of a plane in the first episode. You're gonna catch some attention.
Would you say Subaru is happy where this project is going? You know, like 5-10 years back, like Ultraman was like pretty much like a desert here in America. Do you think that we're like cutting towards a point where everyone's happy? I'm pretty happy.
Subaraya is very happy, but Subaraya is also very ambitious. This is a stepping stone into making it so that everyone, even people who would not have shown up here this year, show up next year, and twice as many the year after. Ultraman is for everybody, and Subaraya's goal is to make that clear to everybody.
People, the fact that we're here means that John and his team are doing a fantastic job because we were told by Subaraya.
Yeah, we got
We don't
asked
want just
to come.
EJ here. All y'all are going to come and take a look with your own eyes and report back. We're watching you.
There's spy cams in the ceiling. These are decoys. Any more questions?
There's the guy in the hat.
Just a point of
Okay,
curiosity
next.
more than anything. Do you think Subaru will ever do anything more on the mystery side like OQ was?
I think that there is a major contingent of Subaraya that still absolutely loves that kind of storytelling. And it still shows, it pops up at times, like Ultra 7X, Neo Ultra Q. Those were a few years back, obviously. Right now, they are trying to bring Ultraman here because Ultraman is a name that they can point to and say, this is something that we can always get people in with, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, do you think they don't want to tell more like crazy mystery stories? Subaraya loves that stuff. Everybody loves that stuff. There are no plans that I can talk about for anything regarding that at this point in time. They are 100% committed to Ultraman, but do not count it out yet. And definitely show how much you love the classic mystery stuff as well. I talked about earlier, Ultraman Connection is a two-way mirror in some ways, that Subaraya finds out what the rest of the world wants through Ultraman Connection. We did an article earlier this week on Ultra 7X, which is a contentious show. I love it. But like, we got a lot of attention because people actually like Ultra 7X. People really like that show. And Subaraya reached out and said, really? Okay, cool. And like, the more that you engage with the series as a whole, and more specifically point out things you want to see, the easier it is for Subaraya to make up their mind to say, cool, maybe we will try something with Mirror Man later. Maybe like SSSS Gridman was a shocking success. We have a library. When Ultraman is good and situated, maybe we'll think about other stuff. Maybe we'll do more of the mystery elements of Ultraman.
Q was in the Marvel comics.
Sure was.
Okay, so those early Ultraman Marvels, Ultra Q is part of the continuity.
You know what's also part of the continuity? Kaiju Step. Have you seen that tiny pigmon?
Yeah. All right, guys, we got time for one more. I think I saw you. Let's wrap it up with you, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, I've been a lifelong Ultraman fan, and especially during the pandemic when you guys were holding those live streams, Avenger fights, the watch parties, I really enjoyed them. So I was wondering, do you guys have any plans for more of those type of live streams? And I guess I know you, I think EJ, you voiced one of the Ultraman Tiga's Kaiju. Tell me about that.
I voiced a couple characters because Subaraya loves giving people who want to do things a chance. I turn the cameras off. This is actual secret. So I'll give you a great example, the one I'm most proud of. Actually, I got a couple. Every time, that's Subaraya is like. I have voiced Alien Barossa in the original Sevinger Fight advertisement stuff. I was Alien Bolton, which I'm very proud of, and I take this to the grave, but I am the original voice actor for Absolute Diavolo. The first appearance of that character was in a UC Live show before his official voice actor had been announced, and we showed him in silhouette, and it was me. As for those live shows, we're doing a couple of changes as the Ultraman fandom changes. Ultraman Connection has gone through some shifts and is going to keep shifting. We definitely want to do more live shows, and Subaraya wants to do more live shows. It's just figuring out how we want to do that, what format we want to do that. Is it going to be something more on YouTube, more available? Do it as something that is more rental-based like the original ones? As we figure that out, we will be making it very clear to everyone how to do it, but we definitely want to do more. It was super fun, and I want to voice more aliens.
Yeah.
I got to be Yapul in the last one, and the last holiday special, and I almost destroyed my voice doing it, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Nice. All right, guys, that's all the time we got. Please. Calm down. Don't forget to go to John's table, pick up an awesome Ultraman shirt, officially licensed. Come say hi to the Ultraman Connection crew.
Get some
They're
free collector
right across
cards.
the street. And have a great time at Kaiju Brooklyn too, guys. There's
Also,
more-
remember, this space is going to be streaming Ultraman Tiga.
Yeah, we're gonna set up the TV. We got
And
it
we're
back
gonna
there.
show
We're gonna
enough episodes
so you guys
for
can come
the
hang
whole
out,
time.
watch some Tiga.
You
But-
guys know how hard it is to watch Tiga. It's not online. There are reasons for that. Watch it while we got it.
Yeah.
Or just buy the DVD yourself.
And there are more panels starting upstairs. In Japan Village, right through those doors, second floor of the elevator, get out, it's right there. So we're starting panels from like 12 to 4. And you guys all have a schedule. You can just, take a look there. But thank you all. This is the first panel ever at Kaiju Brooklyn.
Standing room.
Thank you again, guys.